Big Trouble in Little China. You like that? No?
No.
All right. Welcome back to the SCR podcast. I'm your host, James, and I'm here with my co-host, Beth. What's going on today, Beth?
Not much. Woke up, did life things. Now I'm here.
How are you doing?
Like, on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, sure. How many moves you give yourself today?
I give myself a solid. Say about 8.
Oh, no. 8? That's not bad.
That's not bad. Yeah, what?
I thought it was going to be less. I was already ready for you.
3.
That's what I was waiting for.
But I like to be optimistic.
I like optimistic. All right. That's good. That's good. So as the song states, we're going to be reviewing Big Trouble in Little China this week. It was released in July of 1986 as an action-adventure comedy. It's described as being a film about a rough-and-tumble trucker who helps his friend's fiancé escape from an ancient sorcerer beneath Chinatown. Oh, I'll get it out. This is another one of those movies that I rode my bike to Sunshine Mall to watch in the theater as a kid. I remember how cool it was. This movie was different supernatural characters and creatures and everything like that. It was just really fun for me. And, it's funny to me that so much of my childhood really centered around movies. There were even summers that my mom and I would do special hangout days where we went into the movies to see things such as What About Bob and City Slickers and Hot Shots. So I think that this is a driving force behind me wanting to do this podcast, just to give you a little bit of background, why I chose this as our genre. I don't have any bad childhood memories per se. I didn't have a bad childhood, nothing to escape from. However, where other people had things like books, I had movies. So I wanted to ask you, Beth, do you feel that way about movies?
Sorry, because you don't read.
No, that's true. That's true.
Your favorite book's Biscuit.
Biscuit is a good one. Pigs in Hiding is my favorite.
Pigs in Hiding.
Pigs in Hiding. Can't go wrong with it. But do you feel that way about movies at all? Or do you have a passion about books or anything else like that? I mean,
like I said before, in previous episodes or whatever, I'm not a big movie person.
Right.
Which I know sounds kind of anti-productive here because that's what we're doing. But I'm not a sit still person. I don't like sitting still for a long period of times. I'm the person who goes and opens up Netflix and pauses it halfway through, goes on my phone for a little bit, and then goes back to it. I don't have the attention span for it.
Okay.
There's certain movies that I absolutely love, movies that are just fantastic. But I never, I can't say I'm kind of wishy-washy. I really like TV shows because TV shows are short and they get to the point. Yeah,
but I've sat there and seen you binge watch a television show for 7 hours straight. I've seen you watch straight episodes
it's
of
really good,
Grey's Anatomy. So isn't that kind of the same thing? That kind of defeats your
there are still points. I've never binge watched a show all the way through that. I still pause and go back to it.
Not even The Office?
No, that took me a whole summer to finish. But I really like books. I really enjoy certain books. It's just I'm not a sit still person. I can't sit down and do something for a really long time.
So does your artwork or anything give you that kind of release? Really, movies were my world. They're not as much anymore with new stuff and everything like that, but...
Well, I really like drawing because it's a way for me to put how I feel onto paper, or per se, That's why I really got into it because being younger and then being super angsty, that was my escape.
Oh, no.
In that sense. I guess if you're talking about escapism, but I don't know. I suppose I'm a very imaginative person, so most of my escapism is in my head. Instead of just zoning out and then thinking things of myself. I used to write a lot.
Right.
In middle school and a little bit of high school. I used to write a lot, and that was a good way for me to do that as well, just express in that sense. So, but your original question, the movies and books, and not really.
So you're...
I've had books where I've gotten into it and I'm I'll read it for hours. I have one favorite book that I really like reading.
Biscuit.
But no. Biscuit, of course. What was that? You gave me a book one time. It was Stick Dog or something. And that was around the time where I hadn't been reading. I was really young and I really didn't like books. But this changed my life. This book changed my life.
Milo and Otis?
No.
Oh.
It's a book, not a movie. It's just because of Stick Dog. It was a thick book for me at the time. Maybe about
I don't know anything
20 pages.
Dog. Not White Fang, not Call of the Wild?
I still have it. No, it's Stick Dog. I'll look it up real fast. I really like that book. It's got a blue cover. I still have it, I believe.
Pete the Cat?
No, not Pete the Cat. That was Tabby.
I don't remember. All
Look,
right.
I just found it. Look at this. Stick Dog.
Oh, okay.
There's multiple books. I didn't know that. I just read the one book.
I do remember getting you that now. Thank you for looking it up.
Yeah, you got it at the
Everybody Google Stick Dog and you can see what we're talking
my life.
about.
I would read it.
It changed.
There was a lot of
Beth's life.
pictures in it.
Nice.
But I like that book.
All right.
I don't remember how we got to here.
I don't either. We trailed off. So let's get back to Big Trouble in Little China. So what was your initial impressions of the movie going by like the preview, the artwork? Did you look at that? Did you watch the preview? The trailer?
I did watch the trailer. I always watch the trailer. I was neutral going into this movie because I had heard that it was really good and that I was going to really like it. And I was really disappointed.
Oh, man. So you were excited for the movie.
No, I mean, I wouldn't say excited per se. I like Kurt Russell.
Cool.
I like a lot of his movies. So I at least knew someone from this. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. And I know James Hong. I recognized him pretty instantly as well because he was in a couple of movies I also like. But I was pretty neutral because I'd heard a couple different things about the movie. And then I watched the trailer. I gave a trailer a 2 out of 5.
Oh, ouch.
And it wasn't even... I was so unsure of what was happening through the trailer. And it did not build up good for the movie. Because, I mean, I liked about the trailer, however, is that it starts off with Jack talking. And then the narrator talking.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I liked that. I didn't like how I didn't understand what was happening after that.
Okay.
A lot going on.
All right. So trailer not helpful.
No.
2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
All right. So a little bit about this movie. Big Trouble in Little China is directed by John Carpenter. So that's a name you should know for being a film buff. Maybe not you, Beth, but you know, if anybody, when you hear the name John Carpenter, you should know. Okay, I know John Carpenter. I'm going to say it stars Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall, Dennis Dunn, and James Hong. Of course, there's others, but those are the main players. John Carpenter has given us a great classic movie such as The Thing, They Live, Christine, and Prince of Darkness. We brought Prince of Darkness up on this show before. And do you remember watching Christine, the Killer Car Stephen King movie?
No, I don't. Oh. I'm sorry. That's the one where the car comes alive, right? Tries to kill people?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't want to watch that. I think I came downstairs. It's a red car, isn't it?
Yes.
And it was like running someone or eating somebody or something. And I was like, this looks not
quality. It's not Hello, Governor from...
what is that? Regular Show.
Regular Show, yeah.
Oh, no.
Hello, Governor. Of course, you should all know Kurt Russell and Kim Cattrall from their plethora of movies, such as like Overboard for Kurt Russell or Mannequin for Kim Cattrall. That's just to name one. These guys were big in the 80s, big in the 90s with stuff, and of course, they're still making stuff today. I didn't really get into Sex and the City, not my genre. Kim Cattrall was in that, and Kurt Russell still makes movies. I think one of his favorite for mine would be Overboard or Backdraft. Great movie about firefighting. Really good movie. So, this story revolves around Russell's character, Jack Burton, who lives by his own rules, basically. The part, to me, almost seemed to be written for Russell with the way that he plays it.
Yeah.
So Jack gets sucked into this hidden underworld that exists in San Francisco's Chinatown. Mainly below Chinatown, when he is enlisted to help rescue his buddy's fiancée. She gets taken because David Lopan requires a woman with green eyes to marry him to free him from his centuries-old curse. So the movie was originally written as a Western set in the 1880s. But it obviously got rewritten to modernized for the time, for the 1980s. they brought on John Carpenter as the director in hopes that the movie would outdo its rival film at the time, which was The Golden Child, starring Eddie Murphy. Do you know that one?
No.
Do you know who Eddie Murphy is?
Yes.
All right. You know him as Donkey from Shrek, right? That's who you know from.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Good.
I guess that is also
I mean,
him,
he is the voice of that. Unfortunately, Big Trouble in Little China had big trouble at the box office.
That doesn't surprise me.
It was don't break my heart. It was a commercial failure, grossing only $11.1 million of its estimated $25 million budget. So not too good on the money front.
Sorry.
Meanwhile, just as an FYI, The Golden Child, which is also one of my favorite movies, especially as a kid, and I did go see it at the theater. My sister April took me to see it, me and two of my friends. I'll tell that story sometime, maybe when we watch it. It killed at the box office with a gross of almost $80 million. So I guess not much competition now on the movie front there.
I mean, this movie got a 77 on Rotten Tomatoes, though.
It's one of those ones that at the time didn't get the love, but people remember it who are giving who have the money. So, you have a generation of kids like me, like my age, right? So I love this movie. People my age love this movie, but we didn't have the money to go spend per se, unless our parents or anybody like that. That's who they were expecting to go see the movie. So if the parents didn't pay for it, the kids didn't go see it, the movie didn't do good at the box office.
Yeah, well.
So
that makes sense.
I guess if I was standing I went and saw this, like I said, me and my buddies, we rode our bikes to go see this movie. And then my sister took me and two of my other friends to go see Golden Child. And I guess they're in the same field house.
Which one did you like more?
See, they're two. I don't have a better.
If you were to go watch one or the other, which one would it be? Which one would you put on the TV? You only have two movies to pick.
I can't answer that question.
You got to answer the question.
I guess it would be Big Trouble in Little China.
You disappoint me. Disgusting.
Well, you can watch The Golden Child, and then you can not just say, well, I don't think it'll be better than this one. You'll have to actually watch The Golden Child and see if you like it. They both have their own nuances, their own feel. It's very hard. Okay. All right. So, how the movie starts.
Sorry.
We open with Egg Shen being interviewed by his potential attorney. He is describing what happens in regard to some type of battle that blew up some of the city in a green ball of fire. He goes on to ask Egg if he believes in magic and monsters and that type of thing. And Egg goes on to say absolutely he believes in Chinese dark magic and sorcery. The attorney is really looking for Jack Burton. But Egg continuously repeats to him to leave him out of it. So the attorney asks, how does Egg expect him to believe in sorcery and magic? And Egg gives him like a little bit of a demonstration with his hands producing lightning, which I thought was really cool. I think that kind of just drew you right into it right off the bat.
I didn't see that.
What?
Well, I don't remember that happening at all. You start off the movie and you start off at him in his truck.
No, this is the very beginning. It starts before the truck.
No.
They actually added that part in. I'm not joking. You didn't watch that part?
What did you? No, that wasn't in it. They start the movie and it's got the scenery, and then it's Jack in his truck driving down, and he's making jokes. He talks about his wife in the rain.
The very beginning is Egg, and because that's even in my spoiler notes for later of why they added that in and everything like that. So you must have missed that part.
That didn't happen.
Okay, well we'll watch it again when we're done.
Okay.
So he states that it's a small taste because the attorney, of course, is overwhelmed by seeing lightning come out of somebody's hands. And Egg says that's how it always starts, very small. So then we cut to the big rig called the Pork Chop Express, which I love that name. And it's being driven by Jack Burton. So literally no delay with opening credits, as they are shown while the truck is shown making its delivery, which I like. I like when credits aren't. I don't mind when a movie jumps right in, and I don't mind when there's not a whole bunch of credits times because that's not what I'm there to see.
Right.
I already know who's in the movie. I'll find all that information out if I want to find it out.
It also plays at the end of the movie.
And it also plays at the end. Yep.
So
Jack obviously loves to hear himself talk as he is giving out free advice over the CB radio all the time.
he didn't take a pause. Like, there were no pauses in this first part. He was just going on and on and on. I was like, man.
And it's like, he's not really waiting for anybody to come back to him. He's just out there just talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, though. He makes his delivery to Chinatown, or what I assume is Chinatown, and engages in some kind of gambling where he seems to clean up. I mean, he does really well. Whatever they're gambling in, he cleans up at it. We're introduced to Wang while playing the game and while gambling because he bet money and lost to cut the bottle in half.
Yeah.
So Jack insists on taking Wayne to get the money that he owes him, but he says he has to go to the airport first to pick up his fiancée. I thought it was really weird.
I just want to, because I'll make several points throughout this. This is one point that I mean when I say that this movie was so confusing, because the way this movie was set up to me was this in a sense of where it's like, here's a problem, and then the next person who talks has a solution to it. It's like, oh, well, if we do this, here's a problem. So whatever,
Okay.
So he's like, all right, you lost the game. Give me my money. Okay, I'll give you your money, but now we have to go to the airport. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Why? Like, I understand that you have to get to the airport somehow for the next scene to happen, but why the airport? Why couldn't he be coming in a car or a bus or something?
So she was coming from China.
But still, I don't know. It was just.
I mean,
well, there's more scenes. I'll make a point again.
I was just really confused because he's like, he doesn't have his money for him, so he's like, well, all right. He doesn't want him to get away. He wants to keep him in his sights. That's why he's like, oh, you're going to follow me in my truck? He's like, no.
Get in the truck with
You're
me.
going to come with me.
And then he said that they'll go to the store afterwards.
Right. Which I think is a restaurant. I think I even called it a store at one point too, but it's definitely a restaurant. The Black something, the Black Noodle or something like that.
The Black Noodle.
He talks about how he struggled in America. Wayne does in America to build a life to bring his fiancée over. So they can get married. My
favorite quote from the movie actually comes from this intro scene because he's talking to him and he's just like, Wang says, "I'm just a poor Chinese boy, you know." It's really funny to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's important to note that his fiancée is Asian with green eyes, which is extremely rare. That's why he's, they show the picture of her and everything like that, so you know who it is. I guess when she's coming out of the plane and everything like that. Jack takes note of a woman who he goes and immediately starts hitting on, which
was fine. At that point, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then she's waiting for a person as well, a character who only shows up twice throughout the entire movie.
Right, but the other character is important. I mean, one, it brought
I think her name
Gracie.
is Tara.
Yes, she's Tara. And it brought Gracie to the airport, which you needed her to be there for. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a reason. And then what she's doing with that character, I talk about that. I mean, it's good, and it's socially aware, making you aware of a situation that's going on in Chinatown. It's topical. We'll talk about it. So they get interrupted when he's hitting on her by a street gang. It becomes apparent that the street gang guys are there to kidnap, I guess, Mao Yin. Because initially they go after Tara, but then they bypass her and go after Mao Yin.
Maybe they mistook her. Thought that was her, and then went off the other one.
See, I thought that might be it too, that they were going after and then I didn't know if maybe they were just grabbing an Asian girl, and they saw an Asian girl with green eyes and thought they would get more money for her. Because these people that are grabbing them initially aren't the same. They sell her.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's what I used to think too. That first it was just a mistaken identity. They were grabbing a young Asian girl off the plane. And then I thought, I wonder if they saw one that they thought they would get more money for. And that's why they ended up ditching Tara and going after Mao Yin. So, I don't know.
Oh.
Well, they take off with Mao Yin at gunpoint. and Jack and Wang chase after them. Jack is insistent on that they have to pay. Oh, they got to pay for the wrong, because Jack, although he is like always trying to be the hero, like he always gets jacked up or messed up in some way, shape, or form. Like he doesn't do a very good job at being the hero. To me. Yeah. But Wang knows where their hangout is. So we cut back to Egg Shen, driving his tour bus and giving a tour of Chinatown. While doing so, he nearly gets into a head-on collision with Jack. And Jack fits the rig down this back alley way. Like, yeah. And he ends up like off the beaten path. And I love that when he talks up to talk to that lady to ask where he is, and she's just like,
she was cutting some like weird
it
animal.
Looked like almost like a skinned cat is what it almost looked like.
I didn't like it.
No, it would just look like gross. Skin. And I'm not saying anything about anybody eating cat. It's just that's literal. If you watch this movie, it looks like just this like slab of meat. It's really weird. Doesn't look like chicken. I don't know what it is.
I thought the alleyway that they're in, because it's all creepy. I thought it looked like the that bad alley in Harry Potter, where all the bad people are. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Not Diagon Alley, but the bad part of Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
The don't come here alley.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I know that he says diagonally, and that brings him to the bad part. So we'll just leave it at that. So they come upon a funeral being held by who we're going to call the good guys, because they kept saying these gangs' names, but they said them interchangeably almost, it seemed. Like sometimes they would say the first one, the good one first, the bad one bad, and then second, the bad one would be first. So I'm just going to say the good guys, because they're still a gang.
I just said white versus red.
Yellow.
Well, it was red first.
Nope.
No, it was red first.
And red came up
and then the yellow showed up.
All right. Oh, the guys were all dressed in white. I get what you're saying.
They're all white.
So this part was very Western in feel. The way that the guy was standing when he had like two guns on his waist and stuff like that, and the way that they shot at him. And the way that the guys first initially attacked. But then they pulled out Uzis and AK-47s, and it kind of...
See, this was another point of mine. Why? Why was this necessary and to be this extreme? Because they pull up, and then they park, almost. He's not driving. And you think that if you were chasing after somebody who got kidnapped, you'd still be driving. But he stops, because, the funeral's going on.
Well, yeah, the funeral's taking up the whole street.
But still. And... so they're coming off, and then you got these guys that are in a standoff, and they're just in the middle of it. And maybe it's supposed to appeal to a humor, of like, haha, look what's happening, this is crazy. But then they bust out these guns, and they start going on. I wasn't entertained.
Ugh.
I said, why?
Well, yeah, like you said, from here a battle between the two gangs does start. But now they bring out like more traditional weapons instead of guns. It's more hand-to-hand combat with sticks and swords and stuff like that. It's some pretty good action scene here, I thought. The head's getting cut off, arms and legs are getting broken on.
It just didn't
It's
fit.
good martial arts.
It was out of nowhere. You're chasing after someone who got kidnapped, and then suddenly people were getting blown up and cut off and everything. Why? It just... because
they get thrown into the middle. They end up in the middle of a situation they don't need to be in.
It was kind of like Mortal Kombat.
That's a good point that you brought up. I am so glad you said Mortal Kombat. Then an explosion happens, and the three storms known as rain, thunder, and lightning show up.
And then I was like, all right, I'm peacing out after this because they're fighting, and then people with powers come down, and there's just so many concepts going on. Why? Well, yeah. It was just I don't even.
So the good gang attempts to shoot them, but it has no effect. So Jack gasses it to get out of there and ends up mowing down Lopan.
I said, because when they first introduced the guys, they had like the giant straw hats on.
Yes.
I said he looked like the guy who trained the Ninja Turtles.
Arukusaki?
He's got the giant hat on. He's all woo-doo-boo.
Yeah. Oh, woo-doo-boo.
I don't know. It was
so
funny.
he mows Lopan down, he's unaffected by being run over. So this was one part that does kind of throw me, because when he hits him, he runs him down. And then they say that they drove through him. So he didn't really go through it per se. His body got mowed down. Lopan did.
Yeah.
Or did that part not happen?
No,
too?
they get out of the. Listen, okay, I watched the same movie you did.
We're watching it when we get done.
I'm not watching the whole thing again. They get out of the truck and they look at the dude and like what? They get out of the truck. I would have just kept going, hit and run. I don't care.
Yep.
But then the guy's face just starts emitting light, and man, I was so.
Yep, they jump out of the truck, and Jack
what is happening?
He gets blinded by the light. He's blinded by the light. Blinded by the light. No.
I know the song.
Okay. The lights come out of Lopan's eyes and mouth. So Jack he loses his sight for a minute, but then he gets it back, and they're able to escape. There's some chasing going on, stuff like that. They have to crawl through some tunnels, but they do escape. They end up back at the restaurant.
It wasn't like they were running to the restaurant. Like, they were escaping and then suddenly in the restaurant and just chilling. What?
Well, Jack is calling his insurance company because he's trying to report his truck either stolen or whatever he wants to say.
They abandoned it.
Abandoned.
Yeah.
He gets disconnected and is told by Eddie that the Lords of Death stole his truck. So that's what I want to talk about. The Lords of Death, I don't think are the same exact people that first kidnapped Mao Yen. I don't think they're the same band. I think that the ones that come and kidnap her from the airport are a different group, and they sell her to the Lords of Death. That's what I think. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. A wet figure enters the restaurant, and we find that it's Gracie Law. So Jack immediately goes to start hitting on her again, which I love that he's just relentless.
The scene was so at the airport scene. Wayne doesn't make any kind of like notion that he knows Gracie Law,
right?
At Jack. So when she shows up, I was like, why is she suddenly here? And why is nobody acting about it? But then it was like, oh, actually everybody knows her except for Jack.
Right.
And I was like, well, they could have explained that a little bit better. They could have thrown something in there where it was like, oh, you don't want to mess with her. I know her.
Wang makes side comments about it. You want to stay away from that woman and stuff like that. He does make side comments about it, but it's very passing. You have to listen and catch it and watch to hear it, I think. So you're right on that.
I don't know. It was weird.
So Gracie advises that Wang's fiance was sold to the White Tigers, which is why, like I said, again, different people.
Yeah.
They all get into a frenzy over the situation, and Jack feels like an outsider due to not knowing the true background of what's going on. So Wang asks Jack to help him further in getting his fiance back. All Jack really was interested in getting his money. And
his truck.
But then Wang's uncle goes on to explain how Lopan has spirit medium powers like the Immortals, and that's why Jack hitting him had no effect. He basically refers to him as the Dream when he's in that form. So we're a bit into the story. You've been introduced to the plot. What are your thoughts so far?
When you're making a story, when you're writing a story, you have your characters, the plot, the conflicts, and everything. It just seemed like there was too much, and it was pushed in too fast, and it seemed like it wasn't flowing well for me. I mean, just like things were happening so coincidentally, like when they're talking about people, it's kind of like if I was like, oh, the dog from the store, the dog with the store with black spots who can jump. Oh, we need him. Yeah, let's go get him. Stuff like that, and that just happened a lot. Or it was like the store with a dog. It was like, oh, you mean that store that's dangerous? Oh gosh, I wasn't entertained, and I didn't like. It just seemed very forced, and not good.
Would you say there's trouble? Would you consider this trouble big? And are they in Little China? Guess what? It's big trouble in Little China. We're not... That face. Oh, I'm getting a good face right now.
I don't.
I get what you're saying. It's a lot compacted into a very. They really do try to. Hey, here's the story, and oh, hey, boom, 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 boom. It's one right after another after another. Not only did she get kidnapped, but now they're in the middle of a gang war, and oh yeah, there's supernatural beings, and oh yeah, some of those supernatural beings can't be killed.
And later on, there's aliens as well. I don't know if there's
any aliens.
You wouldn't call that meatball thing an alien?
No, he's not. He's a supernatural being, but he's not an alien.
You wouldn't say an alien's a supernatural being?
No.
What is that? What was that? What category would that fall under?
If you consider a supernatural being, an alien to be a supernatural being, you write us at the Yes to Your podcast at gmail.com, because I don't think it is. I think that it's an alien, and I think that you have supernatural beings, and I don't think they're the same thing.
What category does aliens fall under then?
Aliens?
No. There's categories for things like vampires and werewolves.
Supernatural beings.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like aliens and ghosts?
No. Aliens are different. They're not of this world. Vampires are.
They're supernatural.
No, they're not.
That meatball thing isn't of this world.
He obviously is, because he's there.
We have aliens here.
Oh, anyway. To continue... Wayne comes up with a plan for Jack to go undercover to what looks to be a brothel, basically. He requests a green-eyed Chinese girl, and this alerts them to his scheme.
I want to make a point about how he looks, because he came back onto the screen, and he looked like Jack Black.
Nice.
Like, exactly like Jack Black. And I was like, wow, because his hair's all combed down, he's got the big glasses on, and
So it's interesting that you bring up how he looks, because that's another one of my, not Easter eggs, but one of my my things I talk about at the end. So it's very interesting that you bring that up. He did. He looked really goofy. So he's in a room with a girl trying to find out how it all works and how the storms show up, and they end up taking Mao Yin.
This is another. He gets really close, and then the people come and they take her away, and then they're back in the. It was all very convenient.
Yeah, Jack does try to fight them, but he's put down quick again
by the man who looks like a koi fish. His face was so weird.
So they take Jack to Gracie's apartment, where it's discovered that the girl from the airport that was almost taken is hiding out, Tara. So what Gracie is working on, because she's a lawyer, Gracie Law, the lawyer. I love that. She's working on exposing the seedy underworld of human trafficking that is happening, and has enlisted the help of Margot, a reporter, to help her. So, and as Beth brought up, who is the reporter who plays Margot?
So she gets in the car with Margot first, and I was like, oh, it's the same actress who plays Alice Gray from Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Which I thought she doesn't look any different.
Just older.
Yeah.
So, yep, they discuss that Lo Pan is involved, and Wang wants to go and get her back. Jack says he will go with him, and they go to Wing Hong Trading to do so. So they basically BS their way past security, saying that they're with the phone company, and they make it down into the guts of the building. And I thought that was really funny, because they just walk by and they're just like, blah, 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 holding up some crappy phone, and then they just keep walking in and just piece right past security, and security just doesn't do anything about it.
Which, again, I think, there's obviously a comedy side of this movie.
Right.
Which goes into my thing of where they're just trying to force too much on you, because it definitely seems like it's an action movie.
Yep.
But then there's also the supernatural beings.
Thank you.
And there also seems to be kind of like romance, but not really, because he's going after his fiancée, and then the Gracie Law and Jack, and then now this with the humor. There was just too much going on at once, where it was just.
So you wouldn't call that complete? You'd call it too much? I mean, it's complete. It's got everything. It's got action, adventure, supernatural beings. Not
in the
aliens.
situation, it didn't fit. It just didn't fit. It wasn't well written.
What? Oh. Meanwhile, Egg comes to the restaurant to read bones and give a fortune to Uncle Chu about Lo Pan. Gracie wants to go see what is going on with Jack and Wang because it has been 2 hours. She makes a point to say it's been 2 hours. Jack and Wang find a hidden elevator, and they take it further down under the building. While descending the elevator, it shuts down and starts to fill with water. They do escape the elevator, and they swim into a room full of dead bodies, which were just gross.
Yeah, I bet that was safe drinking water.
I can't imagine getting that. That's exactly what I thought of as well. I thought, oh my gosh, that water is in their mouth.
Yeah, Jack even says in the elevator, he's like, oh, it's salt water.
Yeah.
Which I wondered if that was a thing because in salt water, maybe you don't float, or so he couldn't have like swam up, but I wasn't sure, or if salt water just kills you faster.
I think it's just the fact that it's water from close by and it's salt water.
But yeah, he was just like, oh, it's salt water. And then he
did make a point of saying
he
it was
tasted
salt water.
it, so it means he was tasting the dead bodies and stuff
Sick
as well.
and salty
so
dead bodies.
That must be good. Yum. I like that the dead bodies also had crabs on them.
They did.
Yeah, crab heads. I was like, oh, that's disgusting.
I can only assume that it's because it's by the bay and that water is being pumped in from the ocean.
Yeah, I suppose.
One of the storms is basically beating up Jack. And then they take Jack and Wang to see Lo Pan while they're tied to these wheelchairs.
This man was so ugly.
So Lo Pan is in his physical form and is old and shriveled.
Yeah. That scene from Harry Potter where they find Voldemort underneath that chair? Like he's all shriveled up and about up to die.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like. I was like uncomfortable looking at him. He looked like he was about to croak out.
Yeah, he did. Lo Pan explains that he took the girl with green eyes because he needed her to perform a ritual to be whole and young again.
When it had to be a girl with green eyes, because the rarer the better, or something, I think is what he said.
Yep. Jack has no time for this story that Lo Pan is giving. He doubts that he could not find another woman in 2,000 years because he says it's been 2,000 years. He's like, you couldn't find one? He's like, well, there's been some. But Lo Pan says that he has Mao Yin and that she is safe. They're interrupted when Lo Pan sees Eddie, Gracie, and Margot at the front desk. So he leaves quickly. He rolls away in his little chair.
See, I would have been okay with the movie had it just been this. Had it been them chasing after the girl in the car and getting to the place, or even like losing the car and then going to the restaurant, meeting up with Gracie Law, talking about the gang and stuff, and then going and this scene happening, and it not being, the supernatural people. I would have been okay with that because the movie would have just been the action romance comedy and it would have been fine. It was the supernatural part that just seemed a little over the top. Even the mythology part of it, or not mythology, but like the because they talk about what's that word? They're like the old ways, stuff like that, tradition or whatever. What is that? Myths, maybe?
Myths and legends?
Yeah, legends. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of. But if that was like she had to be sacrificed or something so he could be younger again, that even would have been okay with me. But the supernatural part of it just wasn't sitting with me.
All right.
Well, Jack, does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because like, that aspect of it didn't have to be thrown in. Because
then that whole scene where they're stuck in the alley and having to run away wouldn't have happened, and it would have been better, in my opinion.
Well, Jack and Wang get locked up into a room. One of the storms takes the trio. I think it's Thunder, but I got confused with them sometimes, and I'm not, except for the lightning guy. I know which one was lightning.
I didn't even know the names. I just knew the one that looked like a koi fish. And the other two.
Nice. So he's taking the trio down to rescue, they're there to rescue Jack and Wang, but he takes them into a freight elevator and gasses them until they pass out. And then they get carried away.
Which is horrible.
Yeah. Wang tells Jack that the legend of Lo Pan and sorcery and Chinese dark magic. One of the storms brings Eddie into the room to store him, and Jack and Wang are able to attack him and escape.
I actually liked this scene because it shows that like almost as if Jack had been in this situation before because he knew how to get out of the wheelchair with the knife, and I like that because it kind of went into his like rough and tough background. But I like that he could get out of it and knew how to get out of it, and then got Wang out of it, and then had a plan to jump the guy. Like, he was like, put the plan before, like, when they were acting like they were still tied up and stuff. I liked that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems smart to me.
Yeah, Jack is on the back of the storm. Again, I believe it's Thunder, who swells up and knocks Jack off his back, which was freaky.
Oh, it seemed like he like levitated him off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, get off me.
So Jack falls into the wheelchair and rolls backwards and almost down into a pit.
I would have pooed a little. If it was
Definitely, it's definitely a poo situation. I also like that at the end of a long hallway was a giant pit, because why wouldn't you have that?
Yeah, it was rolled down directly into a well, and it seemed like it was kind of like construction was like kind of cut off. They had a couple like signs or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know.
He does take out a couple guards while rolling, so that's pretty good.
I like that his friends, or Wang and the other dude, didn't come down to help him.
Eddie.
Yeah, they didn't come down to help him.
No, Wang slammed the door closed on
Yes,
on Thunder.
But then there was time, and they didn't run down the wall.
No, they
They
said we'll
just
just wait
stayed there and get to come back up.
So Lopan is advised of escape and transforms from his shriveled old man form into the dream form, where he's able to walk through walls.
Yeah.
He goes to visit Mao Yin, who is floating in a trance-like state. Wang, Jack, and Eddie escape, freeing Gracie and Margot along the way. They had a pretty good fight scene between some female gang members and Eddie and Wang, I thought.
I wondered, why was Margot like, everyone else was untied, and they panned to Gracie, who's tied up completely. Like, why?
Probably because she was hogtied.
Yeah.
And it's probably because there was probably a cut scene or something like that to where she just kept running her mouth even more. So they just said, okay, we're just going to tie you up horribly because we're tired of you. That's all I could figure, because everybody else was just kind of free roam, and then she was all tied with her
they
feet and
bust
hands.
them out, and then they're like, oh, let's go this way. And then there's just a giant pool.
Yep.
And everyone started just diving into it. Like, I like that all the girls that were tied up there, they all just knew that there was a pool there, and that's the way to get out.
True.
Like,
Yep, they swim through a hole with all the other girls as well. And it's funny because Gracie keeps pulling people up as they swim by her to look for him. She's like, Eddie? And then she puts him back down.
Eddie shows up. Yeah.
Or Margot? Yeah. It's also funny because they think they are almost out, and then instead Jack opens the door and the entire gang is standing on the other side waiting for them. He's like, all right, this is going to be normal now. So everybody just try and act. He opens it up. The gang's just all.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Jack starts shooting, and Wang does some serious martial arts to take them out, take the remaining guys out, which I thought was pretty cool. They do get past and make it to Egg's bus, which is waiting in the parking lot.
This was another thing that I thought was weird, because they're all like, okay, time to go, but they didn't find the fiancé. They were just okay with leaving.
They had to get out of there, man.
I mean, but still,
they come back when they're stronger.
No.
So they are escaping, but then that beastly hand reaches out from inside that statue and grabs Gracie by the head. We see the group has escaped, but the beastly thing has taken Gracie into the pit.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
The beastly thing was absolutely horrible. I would have pooed.
Did it kind of look like the face of the vampire girl from Fright Night?
Yes.
To you? That's what it reminds me of.
Yes.
Like, it's got that huge mouth and face, and they look almost identical.
Yeah.
Freaky.
But at least she still had girl body.
Yeah, this
thing had horrible body, and she was all like, let me down. I would have been like, pooping.
Yeah. More poo everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, he takes her down into a pit, or it takes her down into a pit, with the three storms and Lopan see that she has green eyes, so they decide to keep her as well. So, what are your thoughts so far?
I mean, throughout this whole movie,
you don't feel like there's been, I don't mean to cut you off, like there's any explanation that's been given? I mean, they're kind of doing that in between, like those little conversations when they're at their restaurant or when they're somewhere else. They do a quick explanation. Okay, it's this, and they're trying not to reveal too much, but then they're like, look, this is a real war. This is what's really going on. Here's where it's at, so deal with this.
If me, as the audience, can't get the scenario and the point without it having to be told to me, it's not a good movie. If you have to tell me that the dog needs to cross the road, and I don't just get that from what's already happened, it's not a good movie.
Who is this dog? Because you've referred to this dog several times.
We started talking about Sick Dog. That's all that's been on my mind. I keep thinking about it. There's just too many concepts for me here. If you had just had the comedy and the action and I guess the romance, which was garbage. Gracie Law and Jack, it just wasn't good. I would have been better with it. I would have been like, oh, haha, because there were some funny moments. And I mean, but I didn't like it. And then things happened so, like, in a way where it was just conflict and solution instantly. And then another one arose. And it was just dumb. Like, oh, we have to escape. We have to get out of here somewhere. Oh, good thing there's a bus here. And then they're in the bus. Oh, duck, they're shooting at us now. But good thing we can get away. And then they're back at the restaurant.
This is kind of the quintessential 80s action movie, man. I mean, you'll see more, like, if we watch Die Hard or we do watch Golden Child and you watch these kind of movies like that, this is kind of how it was. There's very convenient things that happen. You're like, really? That's just like that? Yeah, it's just like that.
But I mean, that's how the entire movie was. They're talking about, I mean,
awesome
even the
movie.
way that they introduced the, Lopan dude, it was just like, oh, Lopan? You mean the guy who's this, this, and this? Oh, he's dangerous. He stays here. You mean that place? That place is dangerous too. Blah, 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 blah. It's just stupid. I didn't like it.
Don't use the word stupid.
I'm sorry. It wasn't even, like, even the visuals were boring. There wasn't, like, the place, it wasn't appealing. They were running through these, scenes where we see a couple times, they go in, they're in the same scene a couple of times, like the elevator or the, that room where they open the door and then all the people are behind it.
Yeah.
We're there a couple of times, but that room's only got these weird baby mannequin things on the shelves. And that's all that's there. And it's like, okay. So there's not even something to look at in the background wise. So it's not like it's layered. It just... It wasn't interesting enough to keep me entertained.
Okay.
I know I said that about Fright Night, where I said there were a lot of pauses, and I got hate on that. Where people were like, "Dude, just eat something next time. It's better." I ate the movie. Okay, I did. I meditated hard. I had good intentions going into this. I just, as someone who enjoys writing, this isn't good to me.
Okay.
The conflict and the resolutions here, they weren't good. And had it just been the comedy and the fighting, it would have been better. Because then it would have been funny fighting. Like, it kind of was anyways. Yeah. And so it was fun. It would have been fine. But then you had serious scenes that weren't really serious. And it was just too much in one.
All right.
It like you said, maybe they were just trying too hard to try to outmatch the Golden Boy movie.
Golden Child. Not Golden Boy.
I don't know. Listen. My memory is slack.
So, to continue, Jack, Egg, and Wang work on a plan to go back against the bad guys to get Mai Yin and Gracie. They enlist the help of the good gang that was seen earlier, the guys with the yellow bands and everything like that. We see Gracie finds Mao Yin, and Lopan appears in his dream state again. He tells Gracie that he must marry the girl with the green eyes who came to tame the burning blade. He then puts Gracie into a trance-like state, which is really weird. Back at the at Eggs, Jack and the gang use a pole in the back of Egg's shop to enter the underworld. It takes them beneath Chinatown, and they start on their journey to get to Lopan's. In the meantime, the Storms are performing their ceremonies for Lopan, and they go back and forth between Jack and crew making their way in Lopan while the Storms perform their ceremonies like a couple different times just to show kind of like what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I do and I don't like that. Because in one sense, it's nice to know what's going on. At the same time, I like when movies do that, where it's like, oh, this is happening, and at the same time, this is happening. But the way they cut in this movie was very weird. It was just, it didn't flow with me.
So do you think that they did, like, we talked about them doing that in The Last Starfighter, when they were going from Alex and
Beta, right?
And Beta, yeah, between the two, like it'd be Alex up in space, Beta back on Earth.
Yeah.
Alex up in space, Beta back on Earth. They do that with this here, where they go between the guys going through, like when that giant bug thing comes out and snatches the guy up and rips him into the hole.
I thought that was funny because he was like, "What's not gonna bother us again?" Because Jack was like, "What was that?"
He says, "You will not come out again."
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It didn't seem. To me, it was like if I was having a conversation with someone, and then halfway through my part of the story, it cut off, and then we were talking, and then the other person started talking, and then they get cut off, and then I start talking, is what it seemed like to me, and I didn't like that.
Okay.
Whereas if it was like, to reference the dog again, dog crosses the street, we get back, and then we pause and go to like little girl going to the door, stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't know. Stuff that flows better. This just didn't flow well for me. Whole movie was bad.
So the storms finished their ceremony, and it seems to end with the girls are lifted into the air while holding the burning blades, and they touch this like thing with glowing eyes that Lopan calls the savage heart, and says that they've tamed it. So therefore, he's going to marry them both. The girls are prepared to be married while Jack and crew make it to Lopan's domain. Egg tells of why Lopan is the way that he is, and gives everyone a drink. Well, he tells them that he's going to give them a drink of a potion that's going to help them fight and kill Lopan. So when they come in, they find that the wedding is being prepared and everyone is getting ready. People are in like garb and everything like that. They then come across the floating eye monster, and it's greasy and horrible.
But before this, they slide through this the tunnel, and they land on a bunch of dead fish.
Yeah.
And I was... It's at least a C+. The sea bass.
The sea bass. I like how the one guy was just like eating one.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
He's like, oh, later.
Yeah. But yeah, the Guardian was definitely horrible.
Yep.
Horrible.
Yep. Lopan can use that monster to psychically tell Egg and the crew that he will kill Gracie to appease the god of the East, and will use Mao Yin to fulfill his earthly pleasures. Since he's got two, he doesn't have to, just murk them both out.
Yeah. Well.
So which would you rather be, Beth? Would you rather be the one who's going to stay and live with him forever, or the one who gets murked out for the god of the East?
Do I want to get murked out or live to serve pleasure?
Yeah.
No. I would die.
Nice. That's what I figured.
Go ahead and kill me.
So this is when we get the golden F-bomb moment, because it's a PG-13.
Yeah, I thought it. Not to interrupt you.
No,
I thought
you're
it was weird that they wanted the green-eyed, Chinese girl.
Right.
And it was a big thing about green-eyed Chinese, but they was okay having the green-eyed white girl. It was just kind of weird to me.
I you know what, I thought so too, because I was like, in that case, then it could have been any green-eyed girl.
Yeah, there's a ton of them.
But Gracie was special too because she was fiery.
Maybe that's why he killed her.
Yeah, he's like, well, I can just kill this one.
Well,
Whatever gets him what he wants, basically.
True.
So, as I was saying, Jack does say the F-bomb while cutting through the ancient Chinese painting. So, that's your one for the movie.
Yeah.
Which, again, the movie doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of cussing in it.
No.
I think there's some here and there's, but nothing bad. And, I can deal with that with the movie. I don't really need it. I don't think that it's necessary to move a movie along and everything like that. Like a well-placed one.
Yeah.
Like that, I think
it was
nicely.
definitely nice, seeing as there were a lot of unnecessary things in this movie.
Oh, this girl. So behind the thing that he cuts through, they find the secret elevator. But before going down, Egg gives them the potion that's going to allow them to be like Lopan in the storms. Here, just to throw something in, I love that the toast involves toasting America and the military. I thought that was really cool that they threw that in there. That's just me. The drink makes them feel invincible and not afraid. So they come down to find that the wedding is in motion. Lopan takes the needle of love and pricks Mao Yin. He then finds that he is becoming mortal. At this time, the eye monster thing sees the group and reveals they are there. And so a battle ensues, and Jack knocks himself out by shooting up in the air and causing bricks to collapse on his head. No, not funny.
I tuned out a lot during this part, and I would tune back in, and I wasn't sure what was going on.
Well, there's more great
So
martial arts.
Yeah, that's why I was tuning out. because it wasn't great.
You're not a martial art fan.
I am. I just didn't like this.
Just not a martial art fan. Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, it was kind of
okay.
Kind of stupid.
So the whole time, Lopan is still performing the ceremony to become mortal. Jack is trying to make it to Gracie, but keeps running into stupid stuff to stop him. Like, he stabs a guard with a boot knife, causing him to collapse on top of Jack, trapping him.
Yeah, he just sits there. And I was... I get it. Like, again, if it was just a humor action movie, then that would have been really funny. And it would have been like, oh, ha, 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 like a one-liner thing. But you also have the guy with the lightning going off, and then you have... the
storms.
Egg fighting Lopan.
Right.
With the magical beams coming out of their hands.
Yeah, Egg and Lopan get into a video game type battle using their hands as controllers.
And so it's kind of like, why? And that part was so unneeded. If that had been cut out of the movie, this movie would have been so much better. If all that magical, mystical stuff was out of the movie, it would have been better. If it was just about kidnapping the girls, having her, sacrificing her even, and that just being it would have been better. I just didn't like the supernatural stuff.
I got you.
It didn't fit well.
Well, Wang is able to kill the storm Rain with a sweet sword toss. He's coming at him, and he's like, what?
Good sounds there.
That's how it sounds. Yeah. Watch the movie.
I watched...
Lopan, Thunder, and Lightning take Mao Yin to his office. Oh yeah, you say you watch the movie, you don't even know the beginning.
That didn't happen.
Okay,
you're gonna put the movie in, and it's gonna start playing.
I can't wait.
I bet you 3,000 bells.
Okay, Jack and Gracie go up to the office in the elevator and confront Lopan. Jack goes to fight Thunder, but Wang shows up and takes him on instead. So Jack looks at Lopan, throws a knife, and misses horribly. Like, it just, bounces off the gong. Lopan says, oh, nice knife, and throws it back at him. Misses. And Jack catches it and, throws it back fast as anything right in Lopan's forehead, killing him. Because now he's been mortal.
It's all in the reflexes.
It's all in the reflexes. Yes, ma'am. That's a great line. That should have been your favorite line. It's all in the reflexes.
It wasn't funny.
It's not about being...
That's what I picked my favorite line off of.
So, Thunder comes in after fighting Wang, sees that Lopan is dead, and swells in size to cause himself to explode.
Again.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I guess his intention was to blow up and kill them all. So I thought that was...
That makes sense.
Did you not like the graphics when he goes...
No.
He's huge as anything. He takes his knife off so he can cut himself.
It's like a pufferfish.
So then the storm lightning shows up. And they all start to escape up a hole in the ceiling. And Lightning's sitting there doing all kinds of crazy stuff, catching the place on fire. Lightning does start to come up after them, but Egg throws a statue down on him, crushing him, and apparently killing him.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was. Because he looks up and he's like, oh! And it's mush. The building is now on fire from all the Lightning's pyrotechnics. Jack and the gang find his truck and escape in the old Pork Chop Express. So they have basically returned to normal life because she's like, stop, it's a red light, and so all of a sudden, all of that excitement, all of that stuff that was going on, big breath, we're back to normal life. So as they celebrate at the restaurant, Egg dismisses himself, saying that he deserves a vacation after having battled evil. Eddie and Margot look to be developing a relationship. Wang pays Jack the money he owes him in triple instead of double because he says he earned it. And Jack and Gracie have a conversation about getting together, but then Jack leaves without even kissing Gracie goodbye.
I hated that. I hated that they were trying to force this relationship between them, and that at the end, Jack literally says, oh, maybe it's time for me to settle down. And she's like, well, maybe if you put or attach a trailer or something to the back of your truck, we can do it. And he's like, no, and then leaves.
Right, because he's like, nah, man, eventually I end up rubbing everybody the wrong way, and I'm just not that kind of person. But he might be back, and I mean she'll be there.
But still, to bring up the idea of settling down with her, and then being like, never mind, I don't want to.
He's rough and tumble, man.
He's a jerk.
He's rough and tumble.
And I didn't feel, the chemistry that was supposed to be there between the two wasn't there. Yeah. It wasn't.
But it wasn't the whole focus of the movie, though. It was
Again, and I get that, but then it shouldn't have been there if they weren't gonna. It shouldn't have been in there. It didn't make sense. I like that he hit on her because he's a rough and tumble dude.
Yeah.
And she was all like, "No, I don't like you." And then the fact that she ended up liking him, and then he's like, "Okay, maybe I'll settle down." And then, "No, I don't want you," and then leaves. No. And Margot even's like, "You're not even gonna kiss her goodbye?"
Right.
Like, come on. It shouldn't have been there.
All right. So we close on Jack heading off, driving the Pork Chop Express, doing what he does best, talking on the CB radio.
Yeah.
We also see the creepy orange monster thing pop up in the back of his truck, and then it fades to black. Which always scared me as a child, because I was like, oh my god, that thing's still alive. I hated that thing. I really hated that thing. So that's the end, Beth. What did you think? Obviously, you've been saying what you think the whole time.
I was gonna say,
you didn't like it.
I didn't really like it.
What was your the film experience? I mean, it wasn't...
It just made me angry. It made me angry that they were trying to fit so much in that didn't fit, and that I was sitting there watching it like, what is going on? That, again, if it had just been about the kidnapping and the whatever, and not the supernatural stuff, it would have been better. It would have been better. You could have you could replace the scene where they go in to get the girl from the prostitution hotel thing.
The brothel.
The brothel. You could have replaced that with them going in and just, like, shooting the place up and taking her willingly, and then Jack having to go back and be like, well, we need to go into this place armed and ready, and having that be the point of it, instead of having them come down from the sky with the green orb and taking them out like that.
That was so cool, though.
But it didn't fit. It shouldn't have happened.
But you're saying that during the whole entire movie that this doesn't fit, but this stuff happens throughout the entire movie. So doesn't that in turn make it fit?
No.
Then?
If it no, that's my whole point. If it hadn't have been in the movie and it was replaced with just, like, normal scenes, it would have been better.
Okay.
It didn't, like, even I would have even liked the scene where they the white versus the red, where they're just the funeral thing.
Yeah.
I would have liked that more had it not turned into something supernatural. Had it just been them fighting and then going after that, I would have liked that more.
Okay.
So
you just didn't like that you're like, oh, now this is added in too.
Yeah, it just seemed like too many concepts for me.
That, you know what? That's okay. That's your opinion. That is okay to have that. How many moos do you give Big Trouble in Little China?
You know my favorite character?
Yeah, I'm asking you how many moves first.
Okay, well, 1 out of 5. Yeah.
Well, at least you didn't give it 0.
I thought about that, but then I was like, there's gonna be one that's worse. There's gonna be one that's worse. And I don't want to say there's one that's gonna be worse.
For me, it runs. It's a 4.
A 4?
A 4. I love this movie. I think it's got everything. It is 80s genre, deep in the heart of Texas movie.
Maybe it's because I read.
Oh.
Maybe because you don't read.
Maybe.
So you don't know conflicts and plots and everything like that well.
Okay.
Well, maybe because you're old.
it's probably all of those situations. Who was your favorite charäracter?
Wang.
Wang was your favorite character?
He was the funniest.
I'll give you that. He did have some really good little one-lines.
Yeah. My least favorite character was everyone else.
Man. And here you said, oh, no, Fright Night. I'd rather watch anything else. 4,000 times I never have to watch Fright Night. Now you watch Big Trouble in Little China and you're like, oh, can I watch Fright Night again?
I literally would. I would watch that movie 17 times over if it meant not watching this movie ever again.
Wow.
It was...
Well...
so bored. I was so bored.
I really thought you were going to enjoy this one. I say that sincerely. I thought you would like... I thought because of how much it's going, because you talk about not being able to sit and watch a movie for so long, because there is so much going on, because it's so action-packed. The movie, it starts and it ends. I mean, that is how, like, it's like boomity, 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 boom. They don't have a lot of dialogue in between. They don't have a lot of this, that, and the other. There's stuff going on the entire time in this movie.
There's a line, though. There's a line between having not enough and having too much. When when there's just so much involved, because this wasn't overly like visually sensual. Like Beetlejuice, there was a lot going on in the background, but there wasn't a lot going in the background in this movie, and that's what kept me in comparison. In this movie, you just have the characters and then people who can shoot lightning out of their hand, have glowing eye faces, and it wasn't enough for me to keep entertained, keep still. There's just a line. This was too much in a bad way,
okay, and
not enough, like visually. And you even like how you just said like, oh bam bam bam. Even though like the fight scenes were long, they weren't. They were long and repetitive.
Wow.
For me. I just
see. I thought, man, we are on completely ends of the spectrum with this movie. I really thought you would enjoy it. I thought you would be like, I was on top of it, especially after your feeling for Friday Night. I thought you'd be like, man, yeah, I'm on this movie.
My 1 out of 5 for this one. My 1 is the humor part of this movie, because it did make me laugh, and that was the 1 point that I gave it. Otherwise, I would not have liked this movie. It would have been a 0.
Wow.
Wow. And I don't mean to be hard pressing on this movie. I mean, I'm just saying now as it is, as someone who's younger and would be judging the movies based on how I see things now. Because, like, I mean, you can make the argument that the way I was raised with certain cartoon shows, that it was all like colorful and popping and loud, and so it's like, oh, that's what I would like. But I was raised on good books. I was raised on literature that kept, like, I just know writing, and so with movies, when the writing's bad, it shows. And this is just one of those movies where
you don't feel like the writing was there.
The writing was not there for me.
That is fair, and it is your opinion, and it is not wrong. It's just different, and it hurts me a bit.
I can see that as a child growing up in this time, I probably would have liked this more, because it would have been like, oh, cool, action, blah blah blah, like Karate Kid. When watching, in a sense, to martial arts, okay, don't give me that face.
There's so much dialogue in Karate Kid.
What I'm saying versus that is like, that was my version of this as a kid, in a sense, because martial arts wise.
Okay.
So watching that as a kid, that was like, wow, he can break board with his hand.
Wait, which Karate Kid? Ralph Macchio Karate Kid, or remade?
Either. I saw both.
Smith Kid. Okay.
It's the first one though.
Okay.
Yeah, good. The original.
Good.
But still, either. And it being like, wow, he can break boards and blah blah blah. There's fight scenes. That's cool. Rewatching that now at my age, I hate those movies.
Wow.
Boring. But not entertaining at all.
All right.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Maybe I just don't like action movies, because I really can't think of any other one. It's like, maybe it's just a genre thing.
Well, I mean, would you consider Marvel movies to be action movies? Like, would Guardians of the Galaxy be an action movie? And you like that?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to.
You just don't like this movie.
I just don't like this movie, I guess.
That's fair. Moving on, bit of trivia. Of course, we have to start with the video game stuff. So the 3 storms were partially the inspiration for the Thunder God character Raiden in the game Mortal Kombat.
I like playing as him.
Lo Pan was the inspiration for the evil sorcerer Shang Tsung from the game as well. So this movie had a direct impact, which is why when I first played as Raiden in
that is how they say the name.
Mortal
That
Kombat,
was cool.
yeah.
That was like almost spot on.
I was like, man, this is just like Big Trouble in Little China. Well, there you go. That's why Raiden wins. Flawless victory. I love that stupid game, man. The vehicle that Egg was driving and giving the tours of Chinatown is now a tour bus in Yellowstone National Park and gives tours of Old Faithful.
Oh, that's nice.
It's neat, I thought. The opening scene that you say doesn't exist was added to flesh out Jack's character as the hero and not the sidekick. Because when they wanted to give him some kind of crazy back. Because I thought it's weird because he leaves on vacation and then they never, like, I expected at the end of the movie to go back to him talking to the attorney or whatever when I first saw this, because that's how it starts off. It just never does that again.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that intro scene happened.
Well, it did.
Wow.
John Carpenter initially wanted Jackie Chan to play the part of Wang, but the producer was against it due to Chan's English, not being good enough. Carpenter still did push for it, but Jackie declined. He said he didn't want to do it.
Well,
So I guess it worked out for the best. This is the fourth of 5 movies that John Carpenter and Kurt Russell would work together on. The others are called Elvis, Escape from New York, The Thing, and Escape from L.A. You've seen the movie The Thing, correct? It's where they're down in Antarctica and they dig up the alien and it takes over the guys' bodies and like they're tied up at one point in time and the thing starts coming out of them and everything like that. He does on his chest, he does to bring his heart back, and when he does, it opens up and bites off his hands.
No, I don't remember this movie.
Okay.
This looks horrible, though.
It's a great movie.
This looks like it's got horrible in the sense of these monsters that I'm seeing right now.
It's
terrible.
Scary. It is a scary movie because you don't know who's real and who's not. And they're cut off and trapped in, from the rest of the world and everything like that, and stuff is going on, and it's just really scary.
That makes me think of that one movie where which I can only remember the one scene. It's like a bunch of kids in the high school, but they're at that pool scene where the girl turns
The Faculty.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called The Faculty with Josh Hartnett in it.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
What year did that come out?
Oh, we can watch that one for sure.
Yeah, I want to watch that.
We're in the 80s, but we're definitely going to do some 90s.
There was I know we do this occasionally if there's one for it. There was I wanted to say this.
All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You are doing your trivia. Go ahead, do your trivia.
All right.
Let
me finish my trivia.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. For you Kurt Russell movie fans, you should have recognized that the outfit that Jack wears when attempting to infiltrate the brothel, it was the same that Kurt Russell wore in the movie Used Cars. So it's funny that you pulled 2 points out being about Mortal Kombat and about his outfit, because there's another movie, 1980s movie, I think it's early, like 80, 81, called Used Cars, and Kurt Russell's in it, and the outfit, the exact same way that he's dressed at the brothel is how he's dressed in that movie.
Well, I only pulled that out because he looked like Jack Black, though.
Right, but it's still funny.
Okay. Well.
And John Carpenter recorded all of the music for the film. Like, he did the music.
I don't remember the music.
That's my trivia.
Very cool.
So now we'll move on to Beth's portion, which is
there is a quiz for this movie of which character are you, and I like to look it up every movie to see if there's one that exists. And it's on PlayBuzz. Sadly, not BuzzFeed. I do like the BuzzFeed quizzes. But I got Meow. Which the actual description for this doesn't sound like me.
Okay.
So I don't know why I got this.
Those are like that sometimes.
You're very quiet.
What?
And a person of few words.
That's not you.
No. You love to relax and enjoy traveling. I hate traveling.
And relaxing. They got you on the relax. You're like a caterpillar in the pupa phase when you're in bed.
I'm waiting to become a butterfly.
I expect you to come out with wings and fly out of your room, All right. Well, what else do you have for us? We'll be sure to post that in the group. I'm going to post it on the
group, yeah. Go ahead and start talking about the different connections that we have, I suppose, then.
All right. Then we will wrap this up for tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for stopping by and listening to our 7th episode. We do, of course, deeply, deeply appreciate it, more than you can imagine. Of course, the best way to say that you love us is to give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Of course, I get to that point where I say, dang it, I didn't look up the iTunes reviews, and so we'll have to do that on the next episode because we did get a couple new ones.
Oh, you forgot. I forgot to remind you.
Yep. If you did give us an iTunes review, please email us at the yesteryearpodcast@gmail.com. Email me your information so we can email you, or so we can mail you a sticker. There's a couple people that did this, but we didn't get your information. So, as I said, you can email us anytime at the yesteryearpodcast@gmail.com. For Twitter, we're twitter.com/yesteryearpcast. For Instagram, we're instagram.com/yesteryearpodcast. Facebook is facebook.com/yesteryearpodcast. Our Facebook group is Truffle Shufflers. Our secret question to get in is what are the host names, which is James and Beth. James and Beth. Our website is yesteryearpodcast.buzzsprout.com. If you'd like to join us for Patreon, our Patreon is www.patreon.com/The Nostalgia Group. We always give a shout out to Greg Revan for our music that he does for our shows. And is there anything else, Beth, that you'd like to say for this evening?
I think that's it on my part.
All right. Well, then, as always, we do love you, and we want to say good night. Say good night, Beth.
Good night.